Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things are added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom.
The heaven, even the heavens are the Lord's, Yahweh Hashem El Shai's, but the earth has it given to the children of men. Right, and what is it for? To dwell in. Now, Yahweh Shai said that there's a place up there in the heavens in the Father's house that he has prepared for us. And then the scriptures speak about the Lord spread out the heavens to be inhabited. So it's going to be something, man. It's going to be something. And even in that, we still can't fathom what it's going to be like. Because the earth is huge. But the earth is only going to be able to accommodate so many Israelites. Remember, it says a little one shall become 1,000 and a small one a strong nation. So Israelites are going to multiply. Remember, just in the land of Egypt, it said the more hell they put on Jacob, the more they multiply. Isaiah 54:1, sing, O barren, thou that didst not bear, break forth into singing and cry aloud, thou that didst not travail with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord, Yahweh Hashem El Shai. This goes back to Sarah and Hagar. Remember, Sarah was barren, Hagar got pregnant. But the one that was barren, she has more children than the one that had children, but she had Ishmael. The Lord blessed Ishmael, gave him 12 princes, and you see that Ishmael is blessed. They have a blessed land. You know, they are blessed people. They got a lot. But the Israelites, on the other hand, are going to be far greater. And they're going to be so many that it says, enlarge the place of thy tent, meaning where you live, enlarge that. Make it bigger, stretch it out, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thy habitations. So where's that going to happen? That's going to go further than the planet Earth. It's going to go out there to different planets. Spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes. Why? Because the Israelites are going to be so many. For thou shalt break forth on the right hand and on the left, and thy seed shall inherit the Gentiles, the actual nations, because they will be our slaves.
My slaves, my Edomites, welcome to hell, welcome to the kingdom.
And that's the true meaning of being blessed, to have slaves. Slaves bowing down to you, coming to you at your beck and call, and make the desolate cities to be inhabited. Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be thou confounded. For thou shalt not be put to shame, for thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, meaning everything that we've suffered is going to be forgotten. The Lord said he's going to wipe away all tears from our eyes. It says, and shall not remember the reproach of thy widowhood anymore. For thy maker is thine husband, the Lord Yahweh Shai of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the power of the whole earth shall he be called.
The Lord promised better things for us, okay? Because the Lord Yahweh Shai has a favorite people. And he's going to give this favorite people a heavenly kingdom. A kingdom that's blueprinted and formatted and patterned after his mind. How he want a kingdom to be.
But rather, seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahushai, Bahashum, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right, so this morning we're going to get into morning news and prophecy. Okay, the dragons of Arabia are falling into place, you know, and this all goes to show, you know, that the will of the Heavenly Father will play out in the earth. You know, no one can resist what's written in prophecy. Okay, when we go into prophecy, these are decrees from Yahweh Bashim Yahushai of things that will happen. You know, and the Lord showcases his power, okay, and that he's omnipotent, all powerful by speaking things into existence way before they happen, okay, and then the Spirit of the Heavenly Father will go into details of certain events and how they will happen and how they will play out, and this is what we're watching real time. So as we see these things happen in real time in the earth, these should be faith boosters for us, man. You know, our faith should be constantly increasing as we're seeing the prophecies of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai play out in the earth real time. Okay? And it's a beautiful thing. So everything is happening exactly, all right, how the Lord said it would happen. You know, we're right on cue. You know, never think that, you know, prophecy is stagnant or things are falling behind. You know, like I say, things intensify. You see these nations, you know, get right there at the brink of war, and then they calm down. Okay, well, that's the Lord setting the stage, because when this thing goes, it's gonna go. It ain't gonna stop. Okay, it ain't gonna slow down. All right. When the Lord finally, okay, pushes these nations through this threshold, okay, it's not going to slow down, and it's going to lead to the end of this kingdom and the ushering in of Yahweh and the righteous kingdom. You see? So I want to get a few precepts, and then I got a video I want to get into to show you what's exactly going over there with them, them Gulf Arab states. Okay, so let's go here to the book of Isaiah chapter 46 and I started verse 9. It says, remember, it's Isaiah 46 and 9 in the NLT. It said, remember the things I have done in the past, for I am the Most High. I am the Most High, and there is none like me. Okay, and the Most High separates himself through prophecy, man. Okay, because there's no other book, there's no other false idol that you can go to. Okay, there's no other book that you can go to and explain what's happening right now and what's getting ready to happen. There's no other book that goes into that. Okay, prophecy can be associated with no other God. Okay, these are the gods. All right, Buddha doesn't have prophets out here telling you play by play what's going on. Okay, Islam doesn't have prophets that's out here telling you play by play according to the book that they follow what's going on. Okay, but when you get into all right, the camps, okay, which are the prophets coming back, beginning with the apostles and elders of GMS, on down. Okay, you have men able to tell you what's happening according to the book that we believe in. No other religion, okay, or organization or whatever you want to call it, no other belief can do that. Okay, the 5% of the Moors, okay, no other belief system can do that except the prophets can expound on what's happening real time. And what you've seen is an uptick of people, all right, hijacking our talking points and trying to put, which these are the talking points of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. We're just expounding on his will, okay, on his prophecy, man. He just gave us the gift to expound on it, okay, all through the will of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, man. So, verse 10, it says, only I can tell you the future before it even happens. Everything I plan will come to pass. Okay, so everything that the Lord has planned is coming to pass, man. And we have to understand if World War III, Jacob's trouble, the MOTB, if these things are true, well, guess what? Immortality is true. Okay, us being kings and priests and joint heirs with Yahweh Shai is true. Okay, us getting those new bodies are true. Being able to enjoy family, having abundance. Okay, you see, the fatness of the earth, man, the spiritual power, all those things are true as well. So as we see the Lord bringing to pass, the things that he has us expounding on, well, everything else that we're expounding on is going to come to pass too. That's why I says everything I plan will come to pass. Okay? For I do whatever I wish. See, Esau, he likes to throw his shoulders around like he can do what he wish. He's limited. This nigga is very limited in what he can do. You see? But he likes for optics. He deals with the optics, the appearance. Okay, because he can bully certain nations. He can do this and do that. He can put sanctions on everybody. And he makes it seem like he can just do whatever he wish, but he's limited. And he's operating within the will, okay, and the prophecy of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Okay, Esau can't segue from prophecy, man. You see, the Lord is making it to where he has no other option but to fulfill prophecy. Okay, and that's why no matter what he do, okay, he's gonna have to go over there, all right, to those nations of the east and start an all-out war. He can't get around it. He's over here, playing bully in the Western Hemisphere. He gonna have to go across that Atlantic, okay, and get them boots in the dirt, man. Okay, thus said the Lord. Now, I want to go here just to show, because even in Deuteronomy, it spoke of the times that we in now. It spoke of nuclear war, even when you go back to the book of Deuteronomy. Okay, so let's go here. Um, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Let's jump down. And this was the Lord, after he cussed us out. You read Deuteronomy 32, all right, the Most High, was mainly a curse out the first, 30 chapters because we got proud, okay, but the Lord always, set it up, to show mercy to us, okay, in the end. There's a remnant, he promised he would show mercy to in the end. So this is Deuteronomy 32 and 35. It says, I will take vengeance, I will pay them back. In due time, their feet will slip. Okay? And this is speaking of the devils. He's speaking to you Edomites now, because after he cursed us out, okay, he promised, he was going to eventually have mercy on us, man. He was going to awaken a remnant to come back to obedience, okay, in the midst of this captivity. But when he's talking about revenge, he's talking about you Edomites, man. And say in due time their feet will slip, which is their foundation. And this is what we're seeing Esau doing. His foot is slipping. He's all over the place. Okay, he's trying to walk straight like he got it, but he's slipping all over the goddamn place, man. And the moves that he's trying to make to forward his new world order is just bringing him closer to this war. Okay, now we know to reject what? The MOTB, okay, which is the RFID microchip, man. You see, we know to reject it. And as the devil is trying to, throw this digital infrastructure up, all right, this war on his ass. Okay, and it's a war. This devil ain't eager to go fight like that. You see, what the Lord is pushing these devils into that. And this is where the Lord is going to get his ultimate revenge by sending Yahushua in the midst of this war. This is why we always tap into this, man. Okay, we just keeping up with the build up to this war. Deuteronomy 32 and 35, it says, I will take revenge, I will pay them back. In due time, their feet will slip, their day of disaster will arrive, and their destiny will overtake them. Okay, you devils like to talk about manifest destiny. Well, your next manifest destiny was a part of your manifest destiny. Okay, is you gonna have to take your ass across the Atlantic. Okay, the ICE agents, they're part of the prophecy dealing with Jacob's trouble. Okay, dealing with the civil unrest. Okay, because it's gonna get way worse. It's gonna continue to just spiral out of control. America is gonna be a complete war zone because they turned the earth into a war zone. See, America being a war zone is judgment from Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, because America has turned the earth into a war zone. All these different war zones and civil unrest and civil wars, and is all linked to America interference in these foreign governments, man. So everywhere you see war and conflict, okay, America is the source of it. So the Lord getting ready to turn America into a war zone, man. Okay, constant gunfights, and that's gonna become the norm in America, man. Okay, so going back here, these devils, all right, destiny or prophecy is getting ready to overtake them. You see, and the devil feet getting kind of cold, but the Most High, all right, gonna put them jumper cables on his ass, man. Okay, and he gonna have to do what he got to do, man. See, Nero got to do what he got to do. You see, he died young, back in ancient Rome. Okay, but now the Lord allowed this nigga to get old. He got to do what he got to do. Okay, which is drive Rome to the ground. Okay, because guess what? He lit Rome on fire. He set fire to Rome last time. Well, he's finna set fire to Rome again. He's gonna cause civil unrest, but then it's gonna be literally on fire with these nukes, man, based off American foreign policy and their posture, man, their pride. Okay, with Trump being the logo of this pride. Okay, he's gonna set Rome on fire again. Okay, except on a much more massive scale. Okay, it says, indeed, the Lord will give justice to his people, and he will change his mind about his servants. So the Lord is now getting ready to have mercy on his servants, which the servants consist of the elect of Israel today. Okay, that hopeful elect. It says, when he sees their strength is gone and no one is left, slave or free. Okay, because we all been put, into this captivity as a punishment, man. Okay, and we have no strength to stand up against Esau at all. Because as this captivity has went on, Esau has become stronger and stronger. Okay, and we have become what? Weaker and weaker. Jake is weaker than they ever been. Jake, there's no type of resistance they can raise up against this man. Okay, you see, them 4 Black Panthers in Philadelphia, there ain't no resistance, man. Okay, there's no, there's no, you can't even begin. As a people, we can't even begin to resist the devil. Even those Central and South American nations, the northern tribes that have standing militaries, they can do nothing with this man. That's why he was able to just go in there and march in and get Madero. Okay, they can do nothing with this man. Okay, so there's no strength to resist this man in the flesh amongst the tribes. But our strength is Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai. That's why scripture say, what? Put on thy strength, O Israel. Okay, when we come back to obedience through faith, that's us putting on our strength. You see, now it's different. This changed everything now when we put on our strength. Okay, but the Lord said, when we got to the point, when we was helpless against this man, he will begin to intervene. So what we're seeing, the Lord has awakened us up, giving us the truth, this understanding, the Holy Spirit, the Comforter. Okay, so he's doing that, dealing with us hands-on, a remnant. Okay, but then geopolitically, he's making moves, okay, to end this empire, man. He's causing things to fall into place to end this man's empire. Okay, so verse 38, it says, verse 37 says, then he will ask, where are their gods, the rocks they fled for refuge? So the Most High, he's like, look, where are these gods, that we made, speaking to us as Israelites, because our punishment came from what? Serving other gods and engulfing in those lifestyles that made us displeasing to our power. So he's like, where are all these gods that y'all was giving this energy to? Verse 38, where now are those gods who ate the fat of their sacrifices, who we sacrificed to, and drank the wine of their offerings? Let those gods arise and help you. Let them provide you with shelter. Okay? So the Most High, like, look, where are these gods? Okay? And you look at the results of us serving other gods, and it always put us in captivity at the tail. Not just in captivity, but the tail of captivity, serving other gods. Okay? So the Lord was making a point. You see? Like those, you see that those other guys, they do nothing for you. This is what the Most High was trying to tell us. Like, those other guys do nothing for you. Now you need some help. Now you need some protection. Where are these guys? Okay. Verse 39 said, look now, I myself am he. So he's telling us to look to him. It said, there is no other God but me. I am the one who kills and gives life. I am the one that wounds and heals. No one can be rescued from my powerful hand. Okay, showing you that he is, and this is the statement he's going to make on the global stage, that he is. Everything happens according to his will. Okay, mercy and wrath all come from him. He's the source of it. Okay, it said, verse 40, now I raise my hand to heaven and declare, as surely as I live. Okay, so this is Mosiah making an oath. When I sharpen my flashing sword, and these are the nukes. So this is in Deuteronomy, and the Lord is talking about nuclear, destruction, man. It says, when I sharpen my flashing sword and begin to carry out justice, I will take revenge on my enemies and repay those who reject me. Okay, and this is Esau and this system that he's trying to throw up. Esau and these nations is trying to throw up this digital system, which is complete rebellion against Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. This is Esau rejecting the Most High, completely rejecting the Most High by trying to put up a synthetic system where he sits in the seat of the Most High. Okay, and these nations are with it, and that's why the Lord has these nations. That's why the Lord had these nations to create these nukes. Okay, so they can destroy each other, man. Okay, and ultimately they can make America a desert. That's the main objective of these nukes. Okay, is to make America a desert, man. You see, it said, I will make my heaven drunk with, I said, I will make my arrows. So like I will make my arrows, which are the nukes, drunk with blood, which means they're going to destroy a lot of people. Okay, a lot of people are going to be destroyed in this nuclear exchange, man. And the whole population of America outside the elect, okay, that's going to be beamed up in those chariots out of here. Okay, it says, and my sword will devour flesh, the blood of the slaughter and the captives, and the heads of the enemy leaders. Okay, the heads of the enemy leaders. You see that? So the Lord is going to destroy all the governments in the earth with this war, beginning with this beast system, the government of Esau Edom. And this is the build-up, all right, that we're watching, man. Okay, so I want to go to this now. You know, I just want to set the tone with that. So let's go to this video here. So this is what's happening over there in Saudi Arabia. Now this guy here, this channel, you know, I believe he uses AI to put these videos up. Okay, so there's certain things, you know, that's kind of biased toward the West, because you know that's another thing too with AI, is very, you know, biased when it comes to the West at certain things, you know, at some points. But it's certain, he gets it's a lot of good information, you know, but we'll pick out the bones, you know, as we do with everything that we watch. You know, we pick out the bones. But this is what's happening. You know, this is the latest of what's happening, dealing with the whole, you know, small hats America attacking, supposed to attack Iran, but things started to change. Okay, things started to go against the West. Things stopped going into their favor, and prophecy is beginning to speak. Okay, so we know these Arab nations play a major part. These Arab nations that are allied with the West play a major part in how these devils are able to project their power, okay, in the Middle East. Okay, because one thing America strategically did was make alliances, okay, to where they can stage, you know, airstrips and military bases, okay, all throughout certain regions of the earth, where they can carry out, you know, strike operations everywhere in the earth, you know, based on the different allied nations that allow them to use their airspace, their airstrips, build military bases. Okay, this is one of the main strengths of the American military, is they have military infrastructure all over the earth. Okay, to where they're able to move troops around, okay, and wage war almost everywhere in the earth. But now it's getting harder for them to do that because they're losing those allied nations now. They like, look, this is the end of the road, man. We can't go no further with you, because now these nations are shooting back. It was one thing when you were just shooting on offense, okay, and you just come back, park the jet, you know, hop out and kick it. But now when you go on these airstrikes, these niggas are shooting back, and they shooting from wherever the planes come from. Okay, and they're shooting in every airspace that these planes are coming from. So these other nations like, look, man, we can't. You know, one day they tell Craig, look, we stay here, you don't. You know, so let's play this.
The unthinkable is happening right now, and if you're not paying attention, you're about to miss one of the most significant geopolitical shifts of the 21st century. Saudi Arabia, the United States' closest ally in the Middle East for over 7 decades, has just told Washington no. Not maybe, not we'll think about it, but no. They've closed their airspace to American military aircraft planning strikes on Iran. The United Arab Emirates has done the same. Kuwait has done the same. Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, every single Gulf Arab state has essentially told the United States that if you want.
And all these are the dragons of Arabia that we read about in 2nd Ezra 15th chapter. He just named them all. There's a few other states, but these are the major players. Okay?
To bomb Iran, you're on your own. Let that sink in for a moment. These are countries that host tens of thousands of US troops. These are countries that have backed American military operations for decades. These are countries that share Washington's fear and hatred of Iranian regional ambitions. And yet, when push came to shove, when Trump administration officials reportedly asked for cooperation in potential strikes against Iran over the ongoing massacres of protesters, the answer from Riyadh to Doha was a resounding no. This isn't just a diplomatic disagreement. This is a fundamental fracturing of the Middle East security architecture that has existed since the end of World War II. And the financial implications, the investment implications, the implications for oil markets and defense strategy, and the entire balance of power in the world's most volatile region are absolutely massive. Let me start by telling you exactly what's happening because the mainstream media is burying the lead on this story. According to multiple reports from regional sources, Al Jazeera, and Middle Eastern diplomatic channels, the United States approached its Gulf allies in mid-January 2026, requesting permission to use their airspace and potentially their military bases for strikes against Iran. This wasn't a hypothetical discussion. This was operational planning. The context, as you know if you've been following the Iran situation, is that protests in Iran have turned into the bloodiest crackdown in the Islamic Republic's history. 12,000 civilians potentially killed in just 2 nights, according.
Now, there's propaganda. As we went over that, it was nowhere near that many. Okay? And we understand that those protests were fueled by, Western assets. Okay? Agent provocateurs, sleeper cells. Okay? They were the one doing, the violence, the killing, and the destruction of infrastructure. Okay? So, they're 12,000, that's propaganda number,
To some estimates, Trump has been threatening military intervention, saying the U.S. is locked and loaded and help is on the way to Iranian protesters. American forces began evacuating Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East. Everything pointed toward imminent U.S. military action. Strikes on Revolutionary Guard facilities, maybe renewed attacks on nuclear sites, possibly targeted assassinations of IRGC commanders responsible for the massacres. The Pentagon was drawing up target lists. The president was being briefed on options. And then the Gulf Arabs said no. Saudi Arabia's position, according to diplomatic sources, is that they will not allow their airspace to be used for any strikes against Iran. The UAE followed suit. Qatar, despite hosting the massive Al Udeid base, reportedly told the Americans that Qatari airspace is not available for offensive operations against Iran. Kuwait, which has historically been one of the most pro-American Gulf states, gave the same answer. Bahrain, home to the U.S. Fifth Fleet, declined. Oman, which has always tried to maintain neutrality between the U.S. and Iran, was never going to agree anyway. What this means practically is that if the United States wants to strike Iran, American aircraft would have to fly much longer routes, possibly from carriers in the Arabian Sea or Indian Ocean, possibly from Diego Garcia in the middle of the Indian Ocean, possibly even from as far away as Europe or the continental United States with aerial refueling. The entire operational calculus changes. The element of surprise is reduced. The cost and complexity increase dramatically. The risk to American pilots goes up. And most importantly, the political signal is devastating. America's closest Arab allies have publicly distanced themselves from U.S. military plans. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would Saudi Arabia do this? The Saudis hate Iran. Iran is their primary regional rival. Iran backs the Houthis in Yemen, who have been launching missiles and drones at Saudi cities for years. Iran supports Shia militias throughout the region that threaten Sunni Arab governments. Iran's nuclear program is seen by Riyadh as an existential threat. The Saudis have spent billions of dollars and thousands of lives fighting Iranian proxies. So why on earth would they refuse to help the United States take down their greatest enemy? The answer is complicated.
Well, the reason why the Iranian and Saudis have been enemies is because of the West. Okay, because the West used the Saudis to wage an unjust war on the Yemen on the nation of Yemen, because Yemen has been pro-Russia for a while. Like I said, that's why Yemen had hypersonic missiles. When they was going against the American Navy in the Red Sea, where they had weaponry from Iran and Russia. And Yemen, when you go into the history of Yemen, what they call the Houthi rebels, which, that's an actual government in Yemen. The guy Houthi, when you go into it, he was one of the leaders, okay, the reformers, okay, because it's always, these nations are always stuck between choosing America or Russia, okay, and if you're pro-Russian, that means by default you're anti-America, and Yemen has been pro-Russia for a while, okay, and Iran has been pro-Russian for a while, okay, so the Saudis have been pro-West, and America was using those Saudis. They was giving them the weapons also to wage war on Yemen, which was pro-Russia. So Iran was helping Yemen because they're pro-Russia. Okay, so now what's happening is the Lord has it to where the Saudis are looking like, well, it doesn't make sense for us to keep fighting in this region on behalf of America, and down so don't make sense for us to allow y'all to use our airspace to fight Iran when we know they have the missile technology now, okay, to strike back and destroy our infrastructure, destroy our oil infrastructure. Okay, Iran can do major damage to Saudi Arabia. Like I say, Saudi Arabia caught hell with Yemen, with the Houthis. Okay, Iran will pummel them on behalf of America just for their association with America, allowing America to use their airspace. Okay, and all these Gulf Arab states know this. They seen the 12-day the war. They wasn't watching CNN getting these reports like the small hats were kicking ass. They know because Iran was showing some shit in this 12-day war. So they know, like, if they can have their way with Tel Aviv, which is supposed to be one of the most protected cities in the world, if they can have their way with Tel Aviv, if they can penetrate Tel Aviv with ease with small strike packages, okay, if they really open up, what's going to happen to our infrastructure for letting America use our airspace and utilize these air bases, man? So these government nations like, no. And then they know another thing too, like we've been talking about for 7 months, they know that Iran been getting scrapped up by Russia and China for 7 months straight. So these Gulf states know all this, man. They not in the blind. They're not, okay, looking at CNN, all right, Megyn Kelly, Good Morning America when it comes to news dealing with Iran. No, they really know what's good, okay? They know that, okay, this gonna even be different than last time. So they're like, look, y'all, this a no-go. Y'all on your own. Y'all got to figure that out, man. Okay? And see, these nations are able to do this because the Lord has raised up an alliance mainly between Russia, Iran, and China, and these nations, because these Gulf Arab states, they can't do nothing with America. Okay? But they see an alliance that's being raised up. Their chief prince, Magog, okay, according to prophecy, they see an alliance where, look, we got another option, man. So look, y'all can't do that no more because they getting ready to flip to the other side. According to scripture, they gonna flip. So what we're seeing, these Gulf Arab states, they getting ready to flip, man. Okay, because of course they not gonna challenge America military. They can't. Okay, but they can join the alliance. They can challenge America military. Okay, which is Russia, China, and Iran, and they're already doing business with Russia, China, and Iran. Okay, as it's going to get into. So let's play this some more.
And it tells you everything you need to know about how the global order is shifting right now. Let me break down the 5 main reasons Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf states are blocking this operation, because each reason has massive implications for investors and for understanding where the world is heading. Reason number one is fear of Iranian retaliation. This is the most obvious factor, but it's worth understanding in detail. In June 2025, when the US and Israel launched their 12-day war against Iran, bombing nuclear facilities and killing over 1,000 people, Iran retaliated with ballistic missiles. They hit targets in Israel, killing 28 people, but they also struck Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. A missile hit a radome at the base. Fortunately, no one was killed, but the message was clear. If you let the Americans use your territory to attack us, you become a legitimate target. Now imagine.
And what we have to understand when Iran don't be trying to cause a lot of casualties. They're sending a message. Okay, they send messages with these strikes. Okay, letting putting these other nations on notice. That's why they struck in Qatar. Okay, to let you know, if you allow this man to do any military activity against us from your sovereign territory, you will become a target in the retaliation. Okay, that's why Iran, they call before they do things, because they're not trying to cause casualties, man. They really just trying to show you, like, look, if this shit escalate, this is a preview of what it's gonna look like. Except way worse. Okay, see, people take when people act with, when nations act with restraint and nobility, the Western media flip it as weakness. Okay, when a nation shows restraint and they show integrity, okay, the West will flip it as weakness, because the West operates on nigger culture. Okay, to where you're supposed to crash out over everything, but that's not what is happening. Iran is being very strategic. Okay, so when they do these strikes, they're sending messages, okay, to this whole region. They're talking, they're sending, it's like sending a text message through missiles to a whole region. Like, okay, look, we can penetrate any defense system they got. Even when you go back to September, when they killed that when they did their airstrike at the Iranian embassy in Syria, and they killed some Iranian officials. So what Iran did, they retaliated, but they called America to let them know that they was going to strike, all right, Israel, the state of Israel. So they gave them 24 hours notice that they was going to strike. Okay. But then you'll look at that, oh man, they really ain't trying to do nothing, man. They just weak. This, man. So what they was doing, they allowed America, France, and Britain to bring in all these missile defense systems, okay, in that area. Okay. So they brought all those missile defense systems from these EU nations, America, plus the Iron Dome. So they let them stack all this shit up. And then what did Iran do? They sent them slow-moving drones, which they knew they was going to get shot down. Okay? But they did that to saturate these air defense systems. And they was getting reconnaissance too. They was getting information on how all these missile defense systems work. That's why they allowed all these defense systems to come together, so they can see how, okay, the French missile defense system, the Britain missile defense system, America, the Iron Dome. So they getting all this free information. They don't care about them drones getting struck down. They want them to get struck down. Okay, but they saturated with them slow moving drones. But the missile that they wanted to get in and the targets they wanted to hit, they hit with precision. And they showed the West that none of that shit y'all got can stop us, man. Do y'all really want to escalate this shit? That's the message they were sending. They wasn't trying to cause major casualties, man. Okay? That was a message. And see, the people, military minds know this, because there was a lot of talk in the West about, well, shit, if they can't stop Iran, then what can we do with Russia and China? Like all this shit we got, America promises, because America is big on promising security. But now they made America's defense, okay, these defense promises and security promise of America that made it look unreliable. And it started, more nations started shifting towards Russia, China, and Iran. Okay? This is this chess, not checkers. You see? And these Arab nations know all this, man. So they know if this shit escalate, they done. If they are considered American ally, they done. And see what Iran is doing is making them pick a side. Iran is making these Arab states pick a side. Okay, and the moves that Russia, China, and Iran are making are directly affecting the outcome on the battlefield. The things that America is doing is nothing but optics for the news. It has nothing to do with the battlefield outcome. Okay, so prophecy is happening just like the Lord said it would happen to get the outcome that the Lord wants. America being the desert and the land of Israel, okay, completely cleared out. Okay, in preparation for the true Israelites to come back, man. Okay, so let's play this some more.
In a scenario where the U.S. launches major strikes from Saudi airspace, Iran has made it explicitly clear that any country that facilitates American attacks will be hit. Iran has missiles that can reach Riyadh, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Kuwait City, Manama. They have drones that can strike oil facilities, as we saw in the September 2019 attacks on Saudi Aramco facilities in Abqaiq and Khurais that temporarily took offline half of Saudi Arabia's oil production. The Gulf Arab states have spent hundreds of billions of dollars building modern cities, world-class infrastructure, financial centers, tourist destinations. Dubai wants to be a global business hub. Saudi Arabia has its Vision 2030 plan to diversify away from oil. The last thing any of these countries want is Iranian missiles raining down on their economic centers and oil facilities. The risk-reward calculation doesn't make sense for them. What do they gain from helping America bomb Iran? Maybe some short-term gratitude from Washington. What do they risk? Massive economic damage, potential civilian casualties, destruction of critical infrastructure, and regional war on their doorstep. Reason number 2, and this is crucial, is the changing nature of the U.S. security guarantee. For 75 years, the deal was simple. Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states provide oil, provide bases, provide political support to the United States. In exchange, America guarantees their security, provides advanced weapons, and backs them against regional threats. But that deal has been eroding for years. Barack Obama signed the Iran nuclear deal in 2015 over Saudi objections. Obama publicly said Saudi Arabia and Iran need to learn to share the neighborhood. He was reluctant to support the Saudis in Yemen. Trump was more pro-Saudi, but even Trump questioned why the U.S. was defending countries that weren't paying their fair share. He demanded the Saudis pay for U.S. troops stationed in the kingdom. Biden came in and immediately declassified intelligence about Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's role in the Jamal Khashoggi murder. He called Saudi Arabia a pariah state during the campaign. He's been pushing them on human rights, on oil production, on Yemen. The Saudis are looking at American politics and asking themselves, can we really count on the United States long term? If Trump orders strikes on Iran today and Iran retaliates against Saudi Arabia, will the U.S. really defend the kingdom? Or will the next American president decide Saudi Arabia isn't worth the trouble? This uncertainty about American commitment is driving the Saudis to hedge their bets. Reason number 3 is the China factor, and this is where it gets really interesting from a geopolitical and financial perspective. China has become Saudi Arabia's largest trading partner. China buys more Saudi oil than anyone else. Chinese investment in Saudi Arabia has skyrocketed. The Saudis are part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. In March 2023, China brokered a diplomatic deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran to restore relations after years of hostility. That was a huge symbolic moment. China, not the United States, mediating between the 2 major powers in the Middle East. The Saudis are now thinking in terms of a multipolar world where they need good relations with both Washington and Beijing. If Saudi Arabia helps the US bomb Iran, that damages Saudi-China relations. It damages Saudi-Iran relations, which have been improving. It forces the Saudis to pick a side in the emerging US-China great power competition. And increasingly, Riyadh's answer is, we don't want to pick a side. We want to play both sides and maximize our leverage and options.
Well, they're going to have to pick a side. Okay? According to prophecy, they're going to have to pick a side. You see? Because what's happening, the Lord is showing that it's not in their interest to deal with America, man. You know, because the Lord is setting it up to where, you know, Russia, China, and Iran are looking way more favorable than the West. And see, this is why Russia Iran and China been chilling because America just been showing their ass. Okay? America and the small hats, they just been doing genocide, regime change, nigga want Greenland. So these other nations, like these niggas is unstable. You know, like these niggas are all over the place. Like, what are y'all doing? You know, because these other nations, like I said, Saudi Arabia got a vision for 2030. They spending billions in infrastructure. Like, nigga, we putting all this money in this infrastructure. And y'all niggas want to go to war every week. Nigga, we building up. That's why everybody gonna look at America like, look, man, we trying to chill. We trying to, build. These niggas want to go to war every week. We gotta get the whore out of here, man. You know, that's gonna be the conclusion that these nations come to, man. All right, because these nations, see, they not operating with the information we're operating with. They're thinking long term and really trying to build, and they want to go into this new world order, okay, without their infrastructure destroyed. Okay, because they set you back. When your infrastructure is destroyed, they set you back. Okay, so these nations are trying to go into this new world order unscathed, but the Lord is pushing for war. Okay, and he got these small hats in America making sure, especially these small hats, it's going to be the small hats that's going to drag America into it. Okay, but these nations, like, they trying to chill and build, but this nigga won't stop. Okay, so the Lord gonna put it in their mind, look, nuke this nigga, man. Okay, because like I say, these nations, a lot of these nations can't deal. These smaller nations, they can't deal with America conventionally, a conventional war with America. Europe can't deal with a conventional war with America. That's why the only option, look, just nuke these niggas, man. Okay. So yeah, let's play a little more.
This is a fundamental shift from the Cold War era when countries had to choose between the US and Soviet blocs. Today, middle powers like Saudi Arabia have more room to maneuver. Reason number 4 is the question of regime survival and domestic politics. Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, is effectively running Saudi Arabia as crown prince, with his elderly father, King Salman, largely sidelined. MBS has made bold moves to modernize the kingdom, giving women the right to drive, allowing cinemas and concerts, trying to diversify the economy beyond oil. But he's also consolidated power ruthlessly, arrested potential rivals, including princes and businessmen in the Ritz-Carlton purge, and overseen a harsh crackdown on dissent. The last thing MBS needs is to be seen as a puppet of the United States, or to drag Saudi Arabia into a war that could destabilize his modernization plans. If Saudi Arabia gets hit by Iranian missiles because MBS allowed American bombers to use Saudi airspace, how do the Saudi people react? Even in an authoritarian state, public opinion matters. The Arab Street has historically been sympathetic to anti-American causes. Palestinians, Syrians, Iraqis, Yemenis have all suffered in conflicts where the US was involved. If MBS is perceived as selling out to American interests and getting Saudi cities bombed in the process, that could create internal problems for him. He's already walking a tightrope between reformers who want faster change and conservatives who think he's gone too far. Adding a war with Iran to that mix is not appealing. Reason number 5 is the lesson of Iraq, Libya, Syria, and Yemen. Every single American military intervention in the Middle East over the past 25 years has ended in chaos. The invasion of Iraq in 2003 destroyed the country and empowered Iran. The intervention in Libya in 2011 led to failed state status and ongoing civil war. Support for Syrian rebels created a vacuum that ISIS filled. The Saudi intervention in Yemen, which had American backing, has been a disaster that has cost thousands of lives and billions of dollars with no victory in sight. The Gulf Arabs have watched America promise quick victories and decisive action, only to create quagmires that last for decades. Now, Trump is promising to help Iranian protesters and potentially strike the Iranian regime. But what's the end game? If the US bombs Iran, does the regime collapse? Probably not. Does Iran strike back? Absolutely. Do the protests succeed in overthrowing the government? Maybe. But revolutionary transitions are messy and often lead to more extremism, not less. Look at Egypt, where the Arab Spring led to the Muslim Brotherhood and then back to military dictatorship. The Gulf states are looking at the potential US intervention in Iran and thinking this could make things worse, not better. A wounded Iranian regime desperate to survive might lash out more aggressively at its neighbors. A collapsed Iranian regime might lead to civil war and fragmentation that destabilizes the entire region. Neither scenario is good for Saudi Arabia. So, what does this Gulf Arab refusal mean for markets and investors? Let me walk through the implications sector by sector and asset class by asset class, because this is a genuine paradigm shift. First, and most obviously, oil markets. If the US cannot easily strike Iran because Gulf airspace is closed, that changes the military equation. It doesn't mean strikes are impossible, but they're harder, riskier, and less likely. That reduces the immediate risk of a US-Iran war, which should be bearish for oil prices in the short term. We've already seen crude pullback from highs. As it became clear, Trump might be backing away from imminent action. However, the bigger picture is more complicated. The Gulf states refusing to back US military action signals a breakdown in the traditional security architecture. That actually increases long-term Middle East instability because it means there's less coordination, less predictability, more room for miscalculation. In a weird way, the old system, where everyone knew the US and Saudi Arabia were aligned, was more stable than this new world where alignments are fluid and uncertain. Long-term, that could mean higher risk premiums built into oil prices. Second,
Yeah, so he's going to the economic aspect, but the main thing, was to show you, all right, that these Gulf Arab states, all right, they're bagging back, man, because they don't want no part, okay, of this shootout, that's going to take place. And see, what we have to understand, Iran was preparing to fight America ever since America invaded Iraq. They knew they was next because they bordered Iraq. Okay, so Iran has been posturing themselves. That's why they went so heavy with ballistic missiles. Okay, where they have hundreds of thousands of these ballistic missiles. You see, so they went so heavy in their ballistic missile program because they was preparing for a shootout with America. Okay, the small hats, they would obliterate them. The only reason the small hats get the bark is because they got American backing. Okay, but Iran would obliterate them. Easy work. Okay, before the weekend. They'll be done before the weekend is finished, man. Okay, so these Iran, has built up this inventory of these ballistic missiles that the West can't stop. Okay, and prepare for a shootout with America. Okay, and these Gulf Arab states, they know this, so they're like, look, if this thing go full scale, we don't want no part of it, man. And it's making them lean towards the alliance, okay, of their chief prince, okay, which is Russia, Magog. Okay, so let's if a brother can get that in brother probably repost it. But yeah, let's get that in Second Ezra 15. I think verses 28 through 30. All right, but let's get this. Say, brother got a few precepts. This is Jeremiah 15:45. It said, therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he have taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he have purpose against the land of the Chaldeans. See, we're seeing the counsel that the Lord has taken against Babylon. We're seeing it play out. Okay, we're seeing things not working in Babylon's favor. Okay, because this war with Iran just got a lot harder. It was already going to be a dogfight anyway, but now it just got that much harder. But guess what? They still got to do it. Okay, and these small hats, as the scriptures say, because America's, joined to the hip with these small hats. It says, it said that he had purpose against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flocks shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate, okay, with them. Okay, and that's from the brother Heartland Hebrew 144K. Okay, so the least of the flock, these small heads, they ain't gonna do something impulsive. They're gonna do something, man. Okay, that's gonna trigger a response from Iran. Okay, well, America gonna have to fully engage with Iran. Okay, and then Russia gonna fully engage with America. Okay, and then you throw China in the mix, and it's a world war. So when these things are going to happen, we don't know. Could be months, could be next year, could be, you know, but they can throw up, they can make the announcement of the MOTB. Things can happen quick, so we can't put the timeline of the Lord, okay, based on, practical, okay, speculation, because the Lord can make moves happen, boom, boom, boom. And then we here, Moses can fold this thing, he can wrap this thing up, okay? But all of the pieces are being put in place, man, okay? The brother got it. It's the brother, Hannah, 2nd Ezra 15:28 said, "Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east." Okay, so this is a horrible vision to the west. These dragons of Arabia, okay, becoming allied with the other side, okay, and becoming hostile with them. Okay, 2nd Ezra 15:29 says, "Where the nations of the dragon of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, all right, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble." Okay, because the Saudis had started buying weapons from, France, Russia, China. Okay, so the Saudis, they had diversified their arms deals, because they're usually just strictly with America, but now they're starting to deal with these other nations in arm deals, man. Okay, right now they're playing both sides, but we see they're being tilted, they're being pushed into an alliance with the East, with the kings of the East, man. Okay. 2nd Ezra 15:30 says, "Also the Carmanians," it says, "Also the Carmanians raging in wrath, which is Iran, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them," which means they're going to be allied. They're going to join battle with the dragons of Arabia, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, man. And like we say, those military bases that's in their region, that's an extension of, America, man. Was the Americans likened it to the Syrians. So all those military assets over there in their region, okay, they're just sitting ducks, man, when this thing fully, kicks into full war. Okay? And then you best believe Iran got something that can reach over here too, man. Okay? We'll find out what nations can reach America in that day. We all gonna find out at the same time in the same moment. Okay? Who has the capability of reaching America, man? Okay? So yeah, that was the point. Just wanted to get into that. I wanted to show that, I thought that was informative, just to show what's unfolding, behind this whole, speculation of attack, from the small hats in America on Iran. There's been a lot of pieces being moved. Okay, a lot of loyalties are shifting. Okay, and it all plays into the will of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah through prophecy, man. Okay. Matter of fact, let me end it on just some Proverbs 19:21. Okay, you read it in the NLT. It says you can make many plans. Proverbs 19:21 in NLT. You can make many plans, but the Lord's purpose will prevail. Okay, so the purpose, the intent, okay, of the Heavenly Father, that's what's going to always prevail. Okay, and you go into the different, translations real quick. KJV said there are many devices in a man's heart. Okay, so these devils got many schemes and plots and gimmicks and this and that, that they want to pull off. Even like these Saudi Arabia talking about vision for 2030 and this infrastructure, and they want to diversify from oil and get into other things. Nigga, you finna go in captivity. Okay, you dragons of Arabia, you gonna play your part in this war, but you still finna go into captivity. So on both sides, they all got these plans, these long-term agendas of how they want to be, okay, and where they want to go, okay, where they see their nation in, 10 years. Well, you nation going into captivity, man. Okay, you finna fight this war. Yahweh Shai is going to intervene in this war, okay, and the counsel of the Lord for righteousness is going to stand, for his son to be the King of kings and Lord of lords in the earth, man, okay? And it says, nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. So what we're seeing, the counsel of the Lord is standing, okay, against the devices of men, okay, what they plan to do, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to pull off, okay, it's all going to fail on both sides, okay? So Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edify once again. I'm going to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful Shalom.